All right, welcome to A Soccer Fan Walks Into a Bar. Today we have the CEO of New York Cosmos, Erik Stover, as well as one of his players, Darren Sidoel. So first of all, thank you so much for taking some time out of your schedule to sit down with us. As we've all been braving the brutal weather, this season, how has preseason gone on for you?
Yeah, so far so good. I came a little bit later, so I missed the first couple of weeks and the training camp, unfortunately. And the first day I came, there was a lot of snow already, so for me it was a little bit cold. But like in Holland, it's also not that the sun is out in the winter. So no, it's good. It's been good.
Yeah,
We,
you're definitely
we did our first camp in San Diego, and
Okay.
Darren unfortunately missed the beautiful and the pretty girl.
What a week to miss, huh?
Yeah.
Is this your first time being in New York?
I've been on holidays, but like first time really living.
I would assume the holidays also not, in the middle of winter with 2 feet of snow on the ground.
No.
All right. So, I want to talk a little bit about the upcoming season. Obviously, normally I would say lots of changes, but, since this is year one of this iteration, everything is brand new. While the Cosmos name is a long-standing brand over several iterations, what are the feelings from you guys and some of the other staff about building something from the ground up as opposed to, coming into an existing club already? Erik, I'll start with you.
Yeah, it's an interesting time. There's so much going on and so much going in the right direction for us to make this a very different opportunity. We have the stadium where we're sitting now, National Historic Landmark. Cosmos have never had a home stadium, so this will be the first time. And that's a huge opportunity for us. Also, the World Cup is here. That'll put some wind in our sails, give us the opportunity to do some things that you can't do in a regular year. For example, again, having the stadium, we'll do viewing parties here. That'll bring a lot of different people in, and we'll have a chance to get to know those folks. It's a very different landscape now with American soccer. The progress that USL has made over the last 10 years, especially the last 5, is enormous. I think a lot of the credit should go to Rocco Camiso and NASL for fighting to get changes here for soccer in America. And with promotion and relegation coming, it's a huge opportunity. And then one of the last things for us is we're in an urban area, and there's so much talent here. You look around the world, that's where the talent comes from. Buenos Aires, Paris, you're
Netherlands
players, so you know what it's like. We don't have that. It's actually very hard for a player to make it if you grow up in an area like Patterson or Clifton or Passaic. But that also creates an opportunity for us. We're embedded in the community. We're going to find the players, and we're going to give them those opportunities. So I think everybody feels really optimistic about all of that. What do you guys think from the players' point of view?
Yeah, so like for the players, it's of course for a lot of players a new situation. For myself, I speak for myself as well. I've been in more clubs and more countries than most of the players. Of course, I've been taking 4 or 5 different countries, and to start from the ground, it's of course different. And I think my role in this is also with a little bit of experience that I have to help the team and to help the staff if I see maybe something that I experienced like in my clubs before. And I think it's just like a matter of like everybody needs to help each other. If you feel something on the pitch or like small things, and I think it's a process, and I think. Of course, there are always small things that can go better, but we are like developing, and I think everybody's positive, and we can't wait for the season to start. So
that's good. So Darren, it sounds like you've kind of, whether it's been forced on you or just a prospect product rather of your age and experience. You seem to have taken a little bit more of a leadership role here. What are your expectations of the squad this season and of yourself? Obviously, every player, they're always going to bet on themselves, and you want to win a title. Is that where where our mindset is at? Are you trying to temper that and just kind of push forward, and see it one game at a time? Where's the mentality coming from?
Yeah, so like how I grew up is always like you play to win. You want to go for the highest, and of course sometimes you have to be realistic as well, and you need to set goals and realistic goals as well. But yeah, I think realistically we just have to aim for like a stable season and not like too much ups and downs, and just for like a stable season. That's I think the main aim, and from there, of course, we want to look at playoffs and see how far we can come. And yeah, I think we have a good squad. Of course, a lot of young guys. So yeah, that's also for me, like personally, what you asked, like my goals is also to help them, to help the team with my experience. And I think we have a couple guys like me in the team who have to take the leadership role on us, and I think so far it's going quite good. So.
All right. So after starting your career in the Netherlands, you played in Den Haag. You went through one of for my money, one of the world's best academies and youth programs with Ajax. First of all, what do you think makes Ajax what they are in terms of their youth programs and progression, getting players into the top level time and time again?
So for me, I think it's the structure, like the first team until like basically the kids, they have like the same way of play. I think if you look at teams like Barcelona, all these guys, like the young kids, like from a certain age you play away, and then when you go teams up, you basically play the same but like a level higher. So at the point, if you played like Ajax, the way they want to play, of course the Dutch way of Johan Cruyff, and I think when you work on this like for years, then when you come to the first team, I don't want to say it's easier to adapt, but it's not that you play a totally different game. So
Right.
I think that's one of the good things from academy like Ajax, but also like in the time I was there, we had like coaches. They all basically done it already. They won Champions Leagues. They played for the biggest teams, and these were like players you saw on TV, and now they are your coaches. So
Right. It's tough not to listen to someone like
yeah,
that, who's
so
got the titles under his belt.
it's like they've been there. They play Champions League games. They played like for the national team of Holland. So they have so much like knowledge about the game as well. So I think as a young kid, you learn so much from them.
For sure. So you've only been here, in the States for a short time. I don't know if you've had any experience with the youth game here, while you've been here, but are there any things that you've seen or heard about U.S. soccer that you would want changed to more mimic, how Ajax and how continental Europe does things to potentially get more progression from the youth levels into, the professional ranks?
Yeah, so what I heard from the guys, because of course since I'm here, you gotta ask questions. How does it work? How's the system? And I think like what they are doing now with the MLS teams, that you have like academies and stuff like that. So that's what I'm used to in Europe,
Right.
in Holland, that you have like of every team you have like the academy, and then you have the academy teams. But it's difficult to say, because if I, for example, compare Holland to the United States, the size of the country is like. It's like a big difference as well. So yeah, it's difficult to say, but I think what Erik said in terms of like getting promotion, relegation, and these small things already is like a big step forward, I think, in the whole football, soccer in the States, if you compare it to Europe. So
Good. Erik, similar question regarding expectations, but for you, kind of more of a macro sense. What would you define as a successful season this year for the Cosmos?
Boy, I hate that question. Look, we carry a big legacy, right? And the Cosmos always won. when we played in Long Island, that was part of our mantra, was that we had to compete to win. So we carry that into this organization and this era of the Cosmos. Darren's a big part of that. What we're trying to build is a culture. And so head coach Davide Corti grew up in the AC Milan system, spent most of his life at AC Milan. Giuseppe Rossi, our head of soccer, is Manchester United, Villarreal, Fiorentina. Proper football runs through his veins. And when we were building the team, I thought, well, because I got to know Darren in Denmark, and I saw, what a high character individual he was, and the position he plays is important when you're starting a team, that you have leadership in that position. And so to Davide and Giuseppe, I passed on Darren's CV. I'm glad it all worked out. And I think that type of leadership is important. So there's a long way of saying that this year, the first most important thing is building the culture. And I think we've got the right people in place to do that, not only on the field and in the locker room, but in the front office. We've accomplished a lot already with our community-driven approach. So we've had success there. But yeah, wearing the Cosmos badge, we expect to win. We've put a good team together, and I feel really optimistic. Not only that we're going to get results, but we're going to play attractive soccer.
Good. And that was kind of one of my next questions was, obviously, you put 11 on the field and you control what you can, but you never know. It could be a 6-0 victory. It could be a 6-0 loss. But what will fans say and see, regardless of the color of the uniform? What are they going to see out of Cosmos this year in terms of, style? Is it going to be high press? Is it going to be more casual? Is it going to be, wanting to, retain the ball? If you're allowed to give out some of that info.
I'm actually interested in hearing Darren's answer. So
yeah, I have to be careful a little bit, but no, I think we want to play like nice football, so not only like long balls kicking, and so we want to play a way that for me suits me, I think, because everybody knows, I think, how Ajax plays, so that's also the way how I think about football. So I think we want to play like good attacking football and good combinations, and but like a combination of everything, basically. I think nowadays you cannot just say like we really want to play only on the ground, for example. You need to have like a combination of everything. But if I look at the squad, we have on the ball so much quality in the team, and everybody enjoys playing with the ball as well. So I think in our last couple of games that we played, you could also see that from the side, that we really enjoy playing with each other with the ball as well. Some nice combinations, some nice like actions, dribbles. So I think that's maybe the best way to describe the way we're gonna play, and people feel if they leave the stadium. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing it. Whether it's I'm going to get to as many games in person as I can, but via streaming or TV, however we can get it done. Erik, why Patterson?
Well, that's where the stadium is.
Yeah.
But it works in many ways. In this business, it's always about your stadium, your arena. And you see an example right now in the NFL, Denver Broncos, their stadium's 23 years old and they're throwing it away and building another one. A lot of that has to do with commercial operations, obviously, if not all of it. But on a totally different level, this gives us commercial opportunities that we've never had before. So the stadium is critical for us. We also, the Cosmos have been cosmopolitan from day one. really about the different neighborhoods in the New York metropolitan area from 1971 on. And the club has always been representative of the various communities. So being here in North Jersey, there are so many different communities. Our stadium is basically in Little Lima. It's the second largest population of Peruvians outside of Peru. And you could say the same about Colombians and Ecuadorians, Brazilians, Portuguese, Bengali. There's a huge population of folks from Bangladesh here.
I saw your the jersey that you guys are doing for a stadium giveaway. First of all, it looks great, as does the regular kit. But yeah, to be doing that outreach and really ingratiating yourself to the community, I think is a no-brainer. I don't know why more clubs at any level aren't doing stuff like that.
Yeah, it's important because we want to mean more than the football on the field. We want to be a real club, and that means 365 days out of the year. And again, folks like Darren and Davide, they're born and raised in that. They know exactly what that means. And it's important to bring that in, and because we're bringing that club culture to this area. And while the people that live here know that from, maybe where they're from originally, whether again it's Peru, Colombia, or somewhere else, but actually having it here in the States is unique. And so we need authenticity and we need leadership. And so bringing in folks like Darren are important for that. And look, I think it's exactly what we need in the United States right now, is something pulling people together and less about pulling us apart, being more community oriented. We don't want to talk about politics. We want to talk about issues and how do we help each other, and then be part of solutions. That's really our focus. So yeah, I think Patterson gives us all of that, and we're in a position to grow tremendously over the next 5 to 10 years.
That's great to hear. Darren, what have your experiences been, in Patterson so far? Obviously, everyone loves the place when it's a holiday, but when it's, daily grind and you're working and you're training and you're getting into the medical room and all that stuff. Do you like the urban aspect of a city like Patterson? Do you prefer something a little bit more rural? How are you enjoying it?
Yeah, for me, like I've been both places. I grew up also in a place where it's like a lot of people and a lot of different backgrounds. So I grew up like that. So for me, it's it's normal. It's I don't want to say it's like home, but like for me, I enjoy it, like to be in a place like that. But yeah, like where I live is also quiet. So yeah, for me, both is okay. I enjoy being around a lot of people, but I also enjoy being with my family, quiet, and so.
Yeah, you seem to be very, go with the flow kind of guy, and at least off the field. Well, I guess we'll wait until March, next weekend, right, to see what it's like on the field.
Yeah.
Anything you're really missing from home, whether it's food, obviously family, any.
Yeah, of course, always family, but I've been away from Holland since I was, I think, 20. So, of course, like with holidays, I go home, and but for me, I'm with my family, with my wife and my daughter. So, no, we are enjoying so far. So, yeah.
Good. Erik, I'd like to talk a little bit about just USL in general. Obviously, a huge structural change announced, I think that was last month, and going forward with the possibility and plan for promotion relegation with the third tier coming in. Has that affected your day-to-day operations at all, or is that more we'll get there when we get there? Let's get year one started first.
No, it's definitely affected everything we're doing. It was part of our plan from the beginning. We knew promotion and relegation was coming when we decided to do this here. And by the way, we made those decisions before the Cosmos were part of the conversation. And the possibility of promotion and relegation and how we were starting to build the club influenced the conversations around acquiring the Cosmos. So we've been thinking big from the very beginning. Promotion and relegation is a big part of that. But we also know that we're building a very much grassroots approach and a sustainable approach. So we're giving ourselves time. And with promotion and relegation, that actually works in your favor. You move along when you've built yourself to a situation where you can move forward on the merits of your work. So yeah, we're always thinking about that. The opportunity around what's happening with USL, not only on the men's side, but also the women's side. We're talking about those things and we're making those plans every day. So yeah, the growth of the league, the opportunities that it's presenting, and the way it's presenting it. This is not all just big cities, major league. You know, it's more community-based, authentic soccer, the way I think a lot of people romanticize. And now we've also seen organizations execute in a way that fits that romantic ideal, whether it's Detroit or Portland, who we're playing next weekend, Vermont Green. Those are all like really good examples of doing it the right way. So I think this league allows you to do that.
Yeah, you just kind of made a great segue into what my next question was going to be. As the new club kind of in town, have you had conversations with some of these other USL clubs? I'm sure, you know, in your breadth of experience, you've worked with or alongside a lot of these front offices anyway. Have you spoken to any of them about kind of best practices and adopted it to how it fits Patterson and the Cosmos? Or obviously you have you said yourself an incredible front office, and you've got Davide and you've got, you know, Pep, you know, as director of soccer. Are you doing it your own way? A little bit of combination of both? Have you adopted some practices of other clubs?
Well, we do talk to the league and the other teams quite regularly, and we have learned a lot watching the success of USL clubs and borrowed some of those ideas. But I think most of our idea comes from historical success around football clubs globally. We're not just a soccer club. We're bringing a lot of different sports and activities to the table to be a good community leader. So it's not just soccer. We'll probably have lacrosse camps and clinics in an area where lacrosse is very popular, but not in urban areas.
Right.
So introducing kids to that sport. There's a huge community here that loves cricket, but they don't really have a place to play, and we want to give kids that opportunity with our team. The example I use a lot is the chess club where we've launched. That has nothing to do with sport, but it's really about bringing people in and having them be part of the club. We're going to have a World Cup exhibit this summer in our museum, sort of telling the story of the World Cup through the eyes of Cosmos players that played in the World Cup. And with that will be an art installation. So we want to bring music and art into the club. And all of those ideas are borrowed from other clubs around the world. You know, of course, Ajax is a great example, AC Milan, Boca Juniors, River Plate, Eintracht Frankfurt, Schalke. You look at clubs all over the world. The club concept is something we really don't have here.
I agree 100%.
And I think it's exactly what we need. It's exactly what sport needs. It's gotten so commercial, and I get it. If you can get people to pay $2,500 a ticket instead of $200 a ticket, then you build the new $4 billion stadium.
Right.
I get that. But for us and who we are and our historical identity, I really think this fits our future well. To be honest, a lot of these ideas we were bringing forth with the Cosmos and NASL when we were playing in Long Island, but we didn't have the opportunity to continue to build on it. And that's a whole nother podcast for another time. But those ideals were there, and we're putting them into practice in a time and space where we expect to have a lot more success.
No, that all sounds so well aligned with, and for our audience, Erik and I did not have this conversation before the interview. One of the reasons I started what we're doing here with Just Soccer Watching was, I wanted to bring people together from different communities to, for one common goal. And for us, that was just watching a game. I had visited, clubs down in South America, and that's what it is there. You have, it's like an old lodge almost, where you have the old guys watching the game on TV, and just past it is the fields for the kids. As far as I'm concerned, in youth soccer here, clubs are clubs for insurance purposes only, and that's it. The 10-year-old team doesn't care what the 17-year-old team is doing, and vice versa. They're just, they have their insurance and they're going to go and do their own thing. So to hear, a club with the name and brand recognition that Cosmos has, to wanting to build that community, for me is singing the right song. So I do applaud, the goals for that. Alongside that, are there plans for a women's team at all? You mentioned, the growth of the women's side, specifically within USL. Is that in the cards at all?
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
In fact, I think that the women's team probably has more upside than the men's side. Our business plan has a professional women's team.
Great.
And it has an org chart that mirrors the men's side. Because we see that as, like I said just a moment ago, just as big of an opportunity. And I'm really excited about having a professional women's team wearing the Cosmos crest for the first time. I think that's going to be huge. And this area is so rich in talent. On the men's side, no doubt, but even more so on the women's side. My youngest daughter plays in almost every game that I go to with her. I see a player where you can just see that there's a different level there, and they're just all over the place here. And we're not giving them enough opportunities. They're getting college education, but they're not getting a chance to play professionally. And I think we could help fix that.
I think that would be great to see. Last question in terms of USL with your business plan. Do the Cosmos plan on applying for USL Premier? Has I assume that conversation has happened internally already with you guys, or is it going to be a wait and see, how our growth is going kind of situation?
Our plan is to get to Premier through promotion.
Okay.
I think that's the more sustainable approach. I think that's where we're heading as a sport. I know that having expansion clubs in Premier is essential. You have to have it to get to the scale that you need. So totally appreciate that. It's absolutely necessary. But for us, we knew all of this was coming, and we chose this path because everything else we're trying to do fits perfectly with that business plan. But yeah, our expectation is as I don't want to say as quickly as we can, but as quickly as we can with a sustainable business model, get to the highest level.
Good. That's comforting to hear. Obviously, it does take money to make these things happen, but to just throw money at something for, the premier, scenario, is not always a best practice. So I'm glad you guys are as aspirational as you're being. You're also very tempered, which I think is, vital for any club, let alone an expansion club. So to have that sense, from you guys, to me, is more of a long-term successful plan, which I love to see. Whether it's, New York Cosmos or, some other teams at any level, I hate to see these teams kind of folding under financial issues and other constraints. So
yeah, no, I appreciate that, and Darren's an example of how we're thinking about that for the future. We want to have leaders that can grow with us up. Darren has so much to give on and off the field, and as we grow, hoping that he's along with us, and having that understanding of promotion and relegation, because you've lived it, is absolutely critical. We need guys in the team that understand that. People don't realize how pervasive promotion and relegation is in your day-to-day when you're living it. People think, oh, 3 teams go up, 3 teams go down. It's way more than that. It's every match is for 3 points and a position in the table every single match. I talked about this at the Board of Governors as we've discussed where this is going, and the worst thing that can happen to you in promotion or relegation is getting relegated. But the second worst thing that can happen to you is getting promoted. I don't think people realize what actually goes into that and how quick of a turnaround it is to be ready to fight at a different level. And commercially, how much of a lag there is. The sponsorship revenue, the ticket revenue, that's coming later, slower than the rush of expenses of higher payroll and everything else that goes into being promoted. So
the last thing you want to do is get promoted and then, a $15 ticket now becomes a $40 ticket because you have, more expensive players, and that all has to get squared away. But then what happens to the fan base? So it's definitely a delicate scale that you have to kind of tip back and forth.
That's exactly it. And we very thoughtfully went for players and staff and coaches that understand that and can relate to it, because unless you've lived promotion or relegation, you don't really truly understand it. I don't know. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, no, 100%. I've played, for example, in India. When I was there was no relegation. And last season I was in Iceland and we almost got relegated. So there's a big difference in pressure as well. When you play the last couple of games of the season and you're in between, you need, for example, 4 or 5 points in the last 3-4 games, and there are things. What Erik said, if you've never been in a situation like this, then you don't know how it really feels. So.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard from players in the lower levels of England, when they're dealing with a relegation battle, like they can't even go out to dinner because, again, this is the bad side of, if there is a bad side of it, the community team, where, every patron of the restaurant feels like they can just go up and talk to a player because they play in their town. But you're right, it can wear on you very heavily. Darren, I assume you've seen the schedule. Are there any cities or places you're looking forward to traveling to with the squad? Are there certain teams that you are excited to be playing against, or is this a lot of this is more new to you with the geography here?
Yeah, a lot of things are new. I'm just looking forward to the travels, the away days, to see new places, to see a lot of new places of the country where I've never been to. So I think that's I think if you look at my career where I've played it, I think you can also see that I like adventure. So I'm really looking forward to
It is an adventure to fly to Spokane and coach. I'm not sure you're gonna love away days after that weekend.
Yeah, I mean, and again, that is part of the business difficulty of, and I'm going to just go ahead and say lower level, professional soccer here in the U.S. Just the size of the country and the budgets that you're, allowed to go with. You're not exactly chartering a jet and that kind of stuff. So
yeah, well, it was an issue for us when I was at Red Bull and
yeah,
managing director there. It's first division, and Red Bull certainly had a lot of money. But flying coach to Los Angeles, it takes a lot out of you.
That was an MLS rule, though, if I remember correctly, right? Part of the collective bargaining. It was like 4 or 5 legs you were permitted to have chartered.
Yeah, so this is going back a few years. Obviously, there were special considerations where you could fly a private plane.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, to fly private in American soccer with the revenue that's generated is just
right.
It's not possible. It doesn't matter what level we're talking about. It's not possible. It's
right.
Something like 6 or 8 times the cost per flight to fly private. So yeah, it's just not feasible.
Yeah. What kind of input or collaboration has U.S. Soccer had with this Cosmos brand? As you're preparing for your opening season, has there been conversations with you at that level? With
U.S. Soccer?
Yeah.
No.
I'm always kind of curious to see. Obviously, there's a long-standing history of U.S. Soccer and Cosmos. Especially under Rocco's tenure. Is there any feeling of favoritism or the opposite among other leagues or among other clubs? But although based on your previous answer, I'm assuming no preference because
there's no favoritism. There's no favoritism towards the Cosmos, that's for sure. Look, I've always been this way. I think we all should be this way. Club first, league and federation second and third. I think if we're doing things right for the club, for the community, and building your organization, that's the best approach. There's a lot of things that leagues and federations do that I see as hurting that process. I've always been on the side of fighting for club first.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Yeah, I think if you look around the world, that's where you're going to find the success, because the clubs that have done that extremely well are driving the bus for everybody else.
Right.
And it doesn't mean that those systems and those leagues are perfect. I think the identity of the lead clubs are so strong, and people have opinions on them. That's when it starts to really matter. If you go to Spain, you played in Spain, Real Madrid, Barcelona, obviously the two biggest, and everybody in Spain has an opinion on both of them, and they're not on, I don't think there's anybody on both sides, right? They're either one or the other, or hate them both. And I think that's where we need to get to, is where the clubs are driving the discussion, not the leagues.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I mean, it's always been kind of a sore spot for me. I especially with MLS conversations, they want more Americans, which again, I'm as a U.S. national team fan, I'm all for. But in my eyes, it's not the job of New York Red Bulls to develop the U.S. men's national team. Your job is to put out the New York Red Bulls product, hopefully a successful and attractive one, but that's it. If it's not a mutually exclusive goal, it will, the better you do, the better, the locals and U.S. players will benefit from that. But I agree 100% that, you need to take care of your role and put out the product that you want to put out. So
yeah, I agree too. And but the caveat I would have on that is there are obstacles that are put in place that prevent teams from doing more.
Mhm.
And that, I think, is a fundamental flaw that we've had over the last few decades, that really, having jurisdictions and exclusivity in spaces,
Right.
and all of those types of things, I see as squashing competition.
Discovery
And
rights.
yeah, that kind of stuff, I think, really hurts the growth of the sport, particularly on a youth development level. I don't think those things are good. And we need more professional teams. We need more kids playing, young adults playing professional soccer. That will go a long, long way for the United States to have a real chance to win the World Cup.
Will Cosmos be kind of filling in with youth teams as well? Has that already started? Is that, is there a timeline on that kind of stuff?
Well, we very intentionally have not launched an academy, nor do we plan to do that anytime soon. We have probably close to 25 youth affiliations.
Perfect.
That has grown very fast, largely on the promise of training compensation. What we're telling everybody is, we need your help. We don't want to compete with you. We want to work with you. And if we find a player that we sign to a professional contract, we'll pay training compensation.
Okay.
We'll work out deals where there's solidarity payments should that player eventually be transferred to Europe and then somewhere else, and the money trickles down. That message, I think, has resonated loudly with those youth partners.
Good.
And it starts with the idea that we don't want to compete. We want to work together. There are so many clubs here in North Jersey, and what those clubs need is a pathway to professionalism. So that's what we're trying to, or what we are offering is, and I think that's the best way to develop, particularly on the men's side. When you're 17, 18, and you're of that level, you need to be signing a professional contract, not going to college. But the players that do it and that's their career goal, that's totally fine.
Mm-hmm.
But I think speaking in general terms, if you want to play at the highest level at 17, 18, you really need to be in a professional environment playing professional soccer. I don't know, what do you think of that?
Yeah, for me, like since I came here, I had these conversations with my teammates as well, because I didn't really understand like the college football and and what is exactly what Erik said. Like in Europe, we used to like that you play in the academy since young, and then if you're like good enough, you're 16, 17, you train with the first team, you get minutes, but you start to play with men since like from a young age, and what the difference is what he said, like here they go to college when they are 17 or 18. So I think that's if you compare it to Europe, for example, if you look at Yamal of Barcelona, he's like I think he was 15 or 16 when he already made his debut for the first team. And I think that are things that I think you see it now more. If I speak with some of my teammates, that they also agree with being in an academy of a professional team, that it's maybe better for your development and also to make steps. So I think everybody agrees on it. So
yeah, and then the professional environments and the professional opportunities just don't exist.
Right.
It's changing, and the USL growth is a big part of that. But if you look at an academy, and there, as Darren just said, you're getting a chance to train and get minutes with the first team. There's really only one or two guys that happens to in a particular age group, but you've got 20 plus players on a U19 team. What's happening to the rest of them? In a lot of places here in the United States, the rest of those guys are told to go to college. And that, I think, is a massive fundamental mistake. And what we need to do is be giving professional opportunities to those guys that aren't the 1 or 2 player going to an MLS first team or a USL championship first team. Instead of going to college, those other 20 players should be trying to sign professional contracts somewhere else. Because there are a lot of players that develop later.
Right.
Yamal's Yamal, and he was ready for it. But there are also guys that come out of Barcelona's system that are 19, 20, and they needed those years. So, I think that the soccer in the United States is changing, and the most important development will be signing younger players to professional contracts.
Do you think the new tiered system that USL has put in place is a direct helper of that? Okay, so this guy's not ready for, maybe the Cosmos, first team or an MLS team. Do you think playing in League One for a couple years is that pathway potentially for a lot of these guys that slip through the cracks?
Absolutely. What's most important is that ownership understands this, right? Your club owner has to get it. You're always going to have, the head coach is always going to want to play to win on the weekend, of course.
Right.
But for the club, it's often in the club's best interest that a younger player gets minutes. And that may put the team in a tougher situation on the weekend. But pretty much every club, there's like 5 or 6 that aren't in a situation where they're in a situation where they never play young players. They're always just buying the best and most expensive players. For everybody else, you've got to have homegrown players, and you've got to develop them, and eventually at some point they're going to get transferred. Too often here, we're making short-term decisions about playing a player, a journeyman player, over a younger guy. And that just has to change. And it may not seem obvious, but it starts with ownership. Ownership has to say, we need to get younger, and we need to play young guys. And we need players to see that as an opportunity for them. I think it's really important. And I don't know if that message is sinking in or not. We'll see over the next 3 to 5 years.
Okay. All right. So that pretty much does it for kind of the main questions. I do have like a segment that we usually do called Last Call. Obviously, this takes place inside a brewery, so we have some beer themed stuff, and it's just kind of a bunch of quick fire, off the cuff answers. And some of these will be for both of you. Some of the on-field stuff obviously will be more geared towards Darren. But who is the comic in the squad here? Who's the fun guy in the dressing room that is lighted, making things feel a little bit lighter?
I think Materazzi.
I was going to say that.
He's also sitting next to me in the dressing room, so.
So I have a tattoo of his dad on my leg. So maybe sometime when the weather's warmer and I'm wearing shorts and I'm down at Hinchcliffe, I'll show you guys. But
you need to do that.
The famous photo of his dad in Rui Costa, with San Siro on fire behind him. I grew up an AC Milan fan, so that memory, is a lot for me. And then obviously his dad, with the 2006 World Cup and everything that goes along with it. So. One of the few Inter players that I'll get behind. Who's in charge of the music in the dressing room? Who's got the musical flair?
I think it's different. Most of the times it's Seba. He's with his speaker, and then when we go to the gym, he puts the music.
And most of the guys are good with his choices, or
If you have a request, you can always ask for it.
Are you adjusting to all the Latin music?
Yeah. It's funny because like everywhere where I go, people think that that I'm also Latin, so they always speak Spanish to me, and people that I don't speak. So
Interesting. What's your go to pre-match meal?
most of the times it's pasta, some chicken, and some vegetables. So.
Football, and this one can be for both of you. Who is your football idol growing up?
I had more, but I think it was like my parents are from Suriname, so like the Suriname big players were my idols, like Darren Sidoel and like these guys. So, and my dad always said to me to watch these guys. So
Yeah, I love watching Seedorf, Edgar Davids, that whole group of Dutch midfielders in that era was just incredible. What about you, Erik?
Well, I have a complicated answer because growing up, I didn't play soccer. Nobody played soccer. It was completely unavailable to me. So I can't give you a player from growing up. I will tell you a couple players that had an influence on my career.
Sure.
Watching Zidane in that World Cup in 2006. Wow. That really, I was having worked at the Meadowlands at Giant Stadium and started to learn about soccer, but then watching that 2006 World Cup, I just remember how afraid the defenders appeared with him. Like they wouldn't close him down; they just gave him space. They were so afraid of him making them look terrible.
Yeah, it's funny, not to interrupt you, but I see kids that are, I'm 40 now, so I see kids that are not aware of his playing career. They know him as a manager, and they'll see highlights, and yeah, he's receiving the ball and turning with nobody within 10 yards of him, and the kids are like, okay, so what? That's not good. I said, he's given that space because he's so good, and he could make you look like a fool that easily. So
yeah, that struck me because I was still learning the game then, and it has its parallels in a lot of other sports. Basketball was my sport growing up, and I see that a lot, that kind of deference.
Right.
And yeah, so that was an impact. And then having the opportunity to have Marco Senna on the team, and I just learned so much watching him play. You're going to have a chance to meet him here next week. Yeah, I would like to think if I had the opportunity to play soccer growing up that would have been my position, playing as a number 6. And it was just incredible to watch him, especially the level that he played at. NASL was good, but clearly a drop down, and the things he did to the players in that league, he just played them like a fiddle. And
the
little feint here, send him running that way, and he's off going the other direction. So those two guys, I think, really influenced my appreciation of the sport.
That's awesome. Derek, back to you. Obviously you've been through the Ajax Academy, you've played all over the world, and this doesn't necessarily have to be the best player, but who is the toughest opponent, and this could have been in training or in matches, Darren, toughest opponent that was across from you on the pitch?
Like in training, I've played against a lot of tough.
I know that your training was probably tougher than a lot of people's careers.
Yeah, I think so because in training I trained with like Frankie de Jong, Matthijs de Ligt, like all these guys from Ajax. So training was always I think harder than games, to be really honest. But like if I have to think about a game, it was Moise Kean, I think it was like from Italy, the striker.
Yep.
So if I think about a game, it was probably him. So.
That's great. Did you play with any of the Kluiverts in your youth academy?
Yeah, with one of his sons.
Justin, right?
Yeah. So with him, I played.
We're Bournemouth supporters bar here, so we get a lot of Kluivert fans that come in.
I played a couple years with him in the academy. So,
I thought when I was looking at some stuff, I thought I saw you guys overlapped a little bit. So if you weren't a player, what would you be doing?
I love to play other sports as well, like tennis and things like this. So probably play another sport.
All right. And Erik, if you weren't in soccer, ownership is not necessarily the right word, but if this weren't your life now, what would you be doing?
You know what I dream a lot about is sitting on a lawnmower. It's loud and no one can bother me, and cutting the grass in a stadium and not having any of the problems that you have in the front office.
Just getting those nice crisp lines. Right?
Yeah, and when you see like Arsenal at the Emirates and how pristine that pitch is and how perfect the ball rolls, like to work on that and to not be bothered every day would be amazing.
Yeah, there is something to be said for just showing up, earbuds in, doing your thing, and heading right home. And so, at any rate, that's going to do it for us. I hope you guys had a good time. Thank you both so much for taking some time on right before season kicks off to talk with me. And just a reminder to all our listeners, the Cosmos will be kicking off their season at home at Hinchcliffe Stadium on Saturday, March 14th. And tickets are available right on the website, newyorkcosmos.com. Is that right?
Yeah.
All right. So that's NY Cosmos, not New York spelled out. So nycosmos.com. Get your tickets. I'm hoping to get down there as well. And I'm looking forward to seeing you guys on the pitch.
All right. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.
Cheers.